everyone, I'm Coach Caren, owner of Kaia FIT Sierra, and I am here to share 5 tips for a successful burpee mile. So let's just dive right into it. Tip number 1, absolutely arrive early. That sounds so simple, but truly arriving by 7 a.m. at the latest, so you have time to check in with our volunteers, you have time to connect with your team if you are doing a team, you have time to warm up even, get situated, all the things, get settled in even. Really, really key because this is such a fun event, but anything where you feel like you're running late and you're racing up to that start line at the 7:30 mark when we officially begin, that's just stressful, and that's not stress you need. So plan to be there by 7 a.m. Super helpful for the organization and getting everyone started on time. Tip number 2, gloves. Gloves. I don't have gloves, but gloves. We are going to be outdoor on a high school track, so really imperative that we absolutely at least bring a pair of gloves so you have the option to use them. Unless you have a ton of calluses working in your favor, your hands can feel very tender the next day after the Burpee Mile, and having even the most basic gardening gloves. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but it'll be super helpful to protect your hands on that surface. Tip number 3, knees. If we're talking about gloves, we got to talk about the knees. So it'll be May 18th for this event. It'll be right in the heart of spring. It's going to be a beautiful day. But even though a lot of us will be wearing shorts, I'm sure, be mindful of any additional protection you'd like to consider for your knees. This could be just straight on knee pads, super easy. It could be simply wearing capris or wearing longer shorts, depending on what you prefer. But just keep that in mind, especially if you're doing a chest to ground burpee or a burpee with a push-up where your knees could be touching the ground at some point. Really helpful because your knees will be touching that same surface that your hands are be touching. So any protection you think you want, bring it. And if you just don't need it, don't use it. But if you have it, then you're prepared in case you do want it. Tip number 4. It's all about, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. So you can absolutely have a team for the Burpee Mile event. A relay team, the way it works is that one member of the team is doing the burpees, doing the traveling, is on the track at a time. The rest of the team is kind of supporting them and moving along with them, but only one person is participating, and it really is up to the team. Like maybe each team member does 10 burpees at a time. Maybe each team member goes for as long as they can and then hands off to another teammate who jumps in when they feel done. No harm, no foul either way. But Burpee Mile is more fun with friends, I'm not gonna lie. Very common, most of our participants do tend to do a relay team. We do recommend no more than 10 people per team, but it's just a recommendation. We've seen in the past that very, very large teams, like 20-something people teams, those participants have expressed that they don't actually feel like they get enough burpee time if their team is so large. So if you do find yourself in a very large 20-person sort of team, maybe it can be team A, team B. You can split that up so you all get a really great participant experience. Again, this is going to be like a party. Most of our teams have actually been around 4 to 6 people, but we've had everything from 2 people to 20-something people. So there's no wrong. It's just a recommendation. No more than 10. 11 obviously is totally fine. Any number is totally fine, but just keep that in mind when you are forming your team and how big that team ends up being. And then our last tip, broad jumps. Broad jumps. Broad jumps are the unsung hero of the Burpee Mile because the further you jump or step, whatever, the fewer burpees you have to do. So how strong is your broad jump? I'm gonna go ahead and show a couple just so you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna back up a little bit so you can see me. But the whole idea of a broad jump is that I'm leaping forward and leaping forward and leaping forward. But if that's very short, or maybe I'm stepping, how far can I step? But the further you can go, the stronger that broad jump is, or that step forward, whatever it is, the stronger your team is, the faster your team can be. So when it comes to strengthening your broad jumps, this can be anything from trying some weighted squats, lunges, weighted step ups on a box, Box jumps, of course, really, really good, because if you keep getting higher on the box, that's going to help you get further when there is no box. And obviously just practicing your broad jump. If you go to the track on May 18th and your very first broad jump of your life is then, that's fine. There's no judgment. But why not, give a little love to your broad jumps. Where are your broad jumps at? Because it's definitely going to help you and help your team shave time in the long run. So those are our 5 tips to have a successful Burpee Mile. I assure you, this event is so fun. We're gonna be pumping tunes. It's gonna be so fantastic. But these tips are gonna set you up for success to have the best possible Burpee Mile that you can. So I look forward to seeing you May 18th at McQueen High School. Get there by 7, remember, arrive early. And this is all for an incredible cause, Awaken. It's a nonprofit that raises awareness of sex trafficking, supports the survivors, and every single person who participates is contributing to that mission, to that cause. So please invite your friends, even if they're just there to cheer and maybe they just made a little donation. All of it is welcome. There is no wrong when it comes to Burpee Mile. We just want to see you there. Thanks, guys. See you soon.